Good morning, everyone. I'd like to speak to you about technology, AI, and generative AI. I was right when I said Black Mirror was a wake-up call to everyone globally on the capacity of ChatGPT and other generative AI technology to influence our world negatively. Right now, we've got a lot of scientists out at Stanford, MIT, Columbia, working on understanding the algorithms that generate biased information. However, because of corporate non-accountability and because Congress and most state legislators don't understand the technology, what's happening is scientists are stymied by the algorithm. Once the algorithm detects that they're being looked at, they shut out scientists. So when Republicans passed laws that say government can't interfere with social media, or social media has to be left untouched, well, they're doing a disservice to the rest of us. Just like you're denying climate change, you're denying using algorithms and generative AI as a benefit to humanity instead of as a disruptor of democracies. I say regulate. There is no tax that you can put on a corporation, no way that you can basically ask a corporation to do what's right. They're not going to do it. And if you think they're going to do it, boy, are you naive. Not that I'm so cynical. I just know from my work at multinational corporations and what I did even at Ford Motor Company when I was in my 30s, when we implemented those 300 new products. Any product that said, use it as desired, meant it was never used. Unless you said where it was going to be used, when it was going to be used, how often it was going to be used, and for how long, it never happened. It just never happened. It's like whistling in the wind. I understand there's some agreement now to talk to the social media platforms once again and get some agreement. You're never going to get agreement. Or let's say you will get agreement, but you won't get compliance. The surveillance economy is here. That's how social media platforms make their money. We're the product. Whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we search, it's all available to third parties and for advertising and for monetizing. It goes to insurance companies. It goes to the police. It goes to other agencies, and it's not always for our benefit. The Nobel Peace Prize winners are now starting a group to study disinformation, social media platforms, and AI. They're behind the curve, as far as I can tell. All you gotta do is go to Stanford, go to NYU, go to MIT, go to Columbia. They'll reveal their data to you. But before we do anything constructive. We need think tanks now to educate Congress on technology. They're woefully behind the curve. 53% of Americans don't read above the sixth grade level. Some of them may have wound up in Congress. I don't know. Just because folks make a lot of money doesn't mean that they understand math and science. And since so many in Congress have denigrated the experts, well, as far back as 1996, they got rid of the think tanks that were there attached to Congress to educate congressmen and women on technology, because that's when it was all starting. I remember getting the first cell phones for my father in 1986 so we can communicate. I remember having Nextel that had a walkie-talkie capacity as well as a telephone. And then I remember trading in my flip phone for the first Apple smartphone. That was a win-win. That made it so easy for us to connect with data. All of my streaming apps are on it. All of my newspapers are on it. I gave up listening to the news over 20 years ago. I couldn't personally take it. I was talking back to the television. When I disagreed, I disagreed. Just like I just chucked my Foreign Affairs magazine from 2020. Here they are, previous secretaries of state, talking about not having regulation on climate, not having regulation on industry, and I know that this is inappropriate. Sure, if you charge enough, it'll be punitive and it'll work. Just like with the banks. The big banks, they can have less regulation, but then they got to keep 25 to 30% of their assets in-house to compensate for their loan portfolios. That's the only way it works. So you need regulation. When you can take data and take a person's face and body and have them say things that they never said, but have it seem as if they said it, who are you going to trust? I'm for people and for jobs. I'm for stop hollowing out the middle class and putting back the managers in corporations that we need. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that 1% of the population should tell me and dictate to me what I should or should not read, what I should or should not think, and tell me who's going to control my data. I want to control that data. I want to know what I'm signing for terms and conditions. Truthfully, I don't want to sign any terms and conditions. Who in the world is going to read 80, 90, 120 pages of terms and conditions? I just want to opt out. That's it. And I want to be able to read what I want, when I want it, search whatever I want, when I want it. And if I decide that I want to be a product, well, then I want you to pay me for my data because you're making money off of me and I'm not seeing anything. In India, I think they are being paid for their data. And in the EU, they've got regulations on social media platforms that we can all copy. They've got the GDPRs. They penalize social media platforms for disinformation, for aiding kids to commit suicide, for data and privacy invasion. Don't you think that we should be doing the same? We've got great universities in this country. Don't kill them off because they're pursuing knowledge. Educate our populace. I'd rather be a leader in education. I'd rather know that we are the United States and we care about thinking, understanding policy, because policies affect us, every one of us. The fact that corporations are unaccountable, that's why we've got inflation. That's why folks have to pay more money for electricity and for water and for housing. You can't expect corporations to do the right thing, just like nobody expects us to do the right thing. Sure, many of us do have better angels, but how many are there? How many? If it's a lot of us, well then, we should stand up and be counted, because the times need people to vote intelligently for people with smarts. If you're being inundated by the technology, if you're being inundated by the cost of living, then by golly, start choosing representatives who have your back, who want you to get a better wage, who care about your well-being. You don't have to be the one that understands weather extremes, but you do have to rely on people who will make policy to curb misinformation and disinformation, just like you would have to rely on people to make policy that curbs the fossil fuel industry and starts innovating immediately for change in our sustainable energy policies. Think about it, folks, because there are elections this year, and next year, in 2024, we can't afford the status quo. We need to disrupt our society. And we know that when we disrupt it, we can make change happen. Because I grew up with, you can do it. And we can do it when we set our mind to it. So, I'm for education. I'm for facts and information. And I'm not for pie in the sky, let's take 30 years to accomplish this. I'm for now, let's accomplish it. Because now is when AI, the algorithms, and ChatGPT are coming into their own. And I don't want to be disrupted negatively. As I've said, I want to live the good life, and I want to live it so that my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren will live it too, and all the generations to come. I don't want to be the pivotal year, 2023, when the world did nothing once again and billions died.